Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Kim Coleman, and I'm the superintendent, and I was asked to come in this morning and greet you. And I'm speaking in English, even though the topic is our phenomenal Spanish immersion program. Because if I had to utilize my Spanish skills, I would get very nervous because my Spanish teacher, when I went to school, is sitting right here. So the birth of my passion for Spanish is front and center. We are so grateful for each of you to take time to come and learn and hear about our Spanish immersion program. I'm going to guess that maybe, is any one of you a grandparent of a child in the program? None at all. This is excellent. And we've got new learners to learning about our model. These students in the front and their teacher and a parent and their principal are in year 7, the 7th year of our program. And we are thrilled and blessed to have it here. And I need to tell you kind of a seed that energized me as superintendent. I had a daughter who was working as a missionary in Slovakia. And she was a stone's throw from the Ukrainian border. And she was over there for a full year. And my husband and I decided that we would go over there at Christmas time and see her. When we went over there, I was able to arrange some time to go into some schools in a village. And in that village, as decrepit as it was, and the schools as unkept as they were, the children were learning no less than 3 languages. And it bothered me to think that here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, our children were taught and learned only English. And it really troubled me. So we came back and had conversations to say, we live in a very global society. And in our school district, when we say we want each student to be educated and prepared to go out into this changing world and succeed, we need them to have the opportunity for those parents who have that vision and that passion that their child might be bilingual, could actually have that opportunity here. And so thus we are, 7 years later, with phenomenal support in the community for a Spanish immersion program. And I'll draw attention to one other person, because when we took this idea forward, of course, it wasn't automatically received with excitement in some places, because the fear of the unknown. And it's very different from what we were used to, not other parts of the world, but very different here. And so I need to share with you, we had a timeline of when we thought it should start. And our timeline was a year later than when we were going to start, because we wanted to take the time to write the curriculum and get everything ready. Well, we had a very energized parent named Shannon Graber, who led the way in coming to school board saying, we don't want to wait, we don't want to wait, we need it now because we want our children in it now. So we took the leap and did it. So here we are, enjoy. And I am Deanne's on.
That's right. Thank you, Dr. Homan. It's great to have her do the welcome for us this morning, and I'm so grateful that all of you are here. How many of you remember when this program started 7 years ago, some misunderstanding in our community? Do you remember that? And if not, I'll share a bit. The misunderstanding in the community is, why would we teach these children Spanish? They need to learn English. Well, look at these fine young students here. These are American-born children who are well-equipped in the English language and wanted to acquire a second skill, that Spanish skill. And our community, I think, was a bit confused. They thought that we were, for lack of better terms, catering to children who were coming here from Mexico or Guatemala or other Spanish-speaking countries and continuing on with that Spanish language. They forgot, I think, that we have the Elementary Immersion Center where we're teaching those children who know multiple languages from other countries. We're teaching them English so that they can get up to speed and assimilate into our classrooms. These fine students already had a good grasp of the English language, even as kindergartners, and then their parents were committed to working with them, additionally in the English language, so that they could be immersed in the Spanish language. So all of that history has brought us to today. And there were challenges early on with understanding, with the community, understanding and embracing this idea that we were going to teach a second language to English-speaking students. But what has happened, I think, in that 7 years' time is a great understanding of what we are giving these students by allowing them a more global picture of the world. That life doesn't just happen here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but a bigger understanding of what's going on around the world through the eyes of their Spanish lessons. So we have just a wonderful treat, I think, in that the students will be sharing a bit about themselves. This young lady here, Elizabeth, said she's been up since 5 a.m. this morning because she was so excited to be able to present to you today. And I have no doubt that the others are just the same. So we look forward to hearing them, and I am utterly amazed. I speak no Spanish whatsoever. I have ein bisschen German, Deutsch, but I may have lost that along the way too. And I am just so amazed at their ability and their fluency and the fact that they can carry on conversations with one another and it all makes sense to the other person. So, I mean, you know, there are words I can pick up along the way, but definitely what they've done here is incredible. And I think their futures are so much broader because of this opportunity. So we are grateful that you are all here today. I do have just a tiny little thing I want to tell you about Gold Card. In the last month, I've received 2 phone calls from school districts in Minnesota who are inquiring about starting their own Gold Card group. And they have not had a program like this in the past, and they want to learn everything they possibly can for little old Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we are sort of setting a precedence here and sharing our information with some folks over in Minnesota regarding the types of programs that we provide to our guests, such as yourselves. And also, we want to hear, and we will hear a little later from Melody, we want to hear what other kinds of opportunities you would like to have as Gold Card members. So be thinking about that. And we will come back to that at another time. And so with that, I'm going to turn the program over to Tracy Beek. Tracy is the principal of the Spanish Immersion program. And she has been in this district, how many years now?
Year 11.
11 years. And this is her first year as principal of the Spanish Immersion program. So with that, we'll turn it over to Tracy. Are you all hearing okay? Everything's okay? Great. And we do have more coffee coming. So
This is exciting for me to be here because in 11 years, this is the 3rd time I've gotten to present to this group. We did a session here about 11 years ago about professional development for all employee groups. We did that right here at IPC. And then probably about 7 or 8 years ago, we were at John Harris and we did a presentation about poverty in our schools. I still go out and do that one. I don't know if any of you got to go to those, but some of you know me as the former professional development coordinator because you were still teaching when I arrived here. This is my first year, as Deanne said. The last 4 years I spent at Edison Middle School, and then this summer, Dr. Holman called and asked if I would like to take on this opportunity/challenge, which has been a lot of fun. So I just told the kids that we just kind of swapped spots. They went to Edison, I came to the K-5 Spanish Immersion program, and it has been a huge learning curve. Dr. Holman did say that we had a parent that was very active and excited. What she didn't tell you was that Shannon Graber had a little personal interest in making sure we started when we did, because Mr. Grant down there on the end was going to be a kindergartner, and we wanted to make sure that all of her hard work benefited her youngest child. And so we appreciate that so much. That has been a wonderful thing for us. And since June, she and I have spent many hours together because she was a former Spanish immersion teacher in kindergarten in a French immersion school in the Twin Cities, and so she has been a great mentor and source of incredible information for me. And so I have been learning a lot of Spanish, I tell you, not nearly as much as I should be. Eddie and his wife is a teacher for us as well, and lots of teachers have been tutoring me, but the best time has been in kindergarten. I'm telling you what, people, I can hold my own in kindergarten right now. So it's a pretty good thing. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview, and I like to say I'm a mother of 4 and I'm married, and I've been working with kids for the last 20-some years. So you can interrupt me at any time. So I'm used to that for sure. So the mission of the Spanish Immersion program is to develop lifelong multilingual learners with a cultural background and problem-solving skills to succeed in a, well, that's wrong, to succeed in an ever-changing world. So, like typo on the first slide, that just breaks the ice completely, doesn't it? Now that that's done. So why would we choose Spanish Immersion? English-speaking children who wish to be bilingual, that's who comes into our program, as Deanne said. All of the classroom instruction beginning in kindergarten occurs in Spanish. Who here has taught kindergarten before? Besides Shannon. Okay, first, second. Okay, I'm thinking of all the things. I started out as a high school teacher and then a middle school teacher. And I am thinking about all the things that happen in kindergarten, right? Like the first day, procedures, all of those things. Everything happens in Spanish. Everything. The kids walk into that classroom, she says, hola, and by George, there it goes. I'll tell you what happens in kindergarten is a whole lot of gesturing. Because we have little kids. I had a little boy the second day of school, and I went to help in the kindergarten classroom at the end of the day because you have to get kids in a line that are going to ride the bus, a line that are going to get picked up by their parents, and a line that are going to go to Kids Inc. after school program. And there was this little boy, I'm in the hallway so I can speak English at that point because by day 2 I did not have the wonderful skills I have now. So I am in line and this little boy's towards the end and I'm helping shoo him over to the line he's supposed to go and the teacher's saying, bien, bien, which means good in Spanish, right? Right? The Spanish expert right there. And this little boy yells from the back of the line, hey lady! I told you my name's not Ben. So I went over to him and I said, she's telling you bien, you're doing a good job. He goes, no, she's been calling me that for 2 days. So that was pretty fun, but I have checked in multiple times and those children are speaking Spanish now. And in that same class, kindergarten class, they're not speaking any English. If they say something in English, like gato, the teacher says in Espanol, no, yeah. If they say cat, then the teacher says gato en español. So like all this word association is happening so that these kids are speaking Spanish. 5, 6 years old, everything's new, and it's just absolutely amazing. I also had a kid the first week of school sitting in my office, kicked back, and he said, can I just go spend some time with someone who speaks English? I said, here I am. But that wasn't probably the optimal spot. But you know what? He's speaking a lot of Spanish right now, too, so it's really fun. So students learn to read, write, and speak in Spanish as they go through their daily lessons. Teachers use repetition, modeling, and gestures to reinforce the language. There's a whole lot of things when we're telling them to sit down or line up that go along with that. We have another one of our guests. Welcome, welcome. You have a spot with a name on it. Yeah. Thank you. Teachers and interns do not speak English at all in front of the students. One of the things that is absolutely fascinating to me is that the kids can get to 2nd or 3rd grade, they still don't even know that their teachers speak English. Any of you have an experience like that? That you got, what grade did you finally figure out these people knew English?
Kindergarten about the same.
Probably.
Oh, you did?
We saw her on TV. She was like,
Oh, there you go. Perfect. That can happen. The good news is Mr. Montoya here teaches both English and Spanish classes, so he teaches math in English, so we knew that he could be here today. Didn't speak English, right? Yeah, exactly. Students also begin getting English language arts from language arts teachers in 3rd grade in English. So in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they start getting their language arts in English as well. And so one of the things that is a big commitment for, well, I guess that's coming up in a minute. Currently, we have over 440 students, kindergarten through 6th grade in the program. That, I think, anybody that was here at the beginning can attest that it has grown much, much more than what we thought. We currently have students in 3 different buildings. We have 2 2nd grade classrooms over here at IPC. that are part of the Robert Frost program. And they are in, we have 4 classrooms at Robert Frost, 2 here, and then we have 12 over at Rosa Park. So we have grown a lot, and in 2016, we will have a brand new building. So that's kind of why I was brought on, when I was brought on, is to try to make sure that we have these staff and students from 3 different buildings that can feel cohesive. So we get together every other week as a complete staff and are able to do professional development and plan and collaborate with each other. We have 21 teachers and 11 interns from 10 different countries. You can see that: Puerto Rico, Ecuador, Colombia, Spain, Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, and of course the US of A. One of the teachers, second grade teachers that'll be coming in here is born and raised in Vermillion, South Dakota, but took 4 years of Spanish in high school, took it in college, and then studied in Spain she did her student teaching in Spain and then has been back a couple of times as well. And we have a couple of dads who are native Spanish speakers that have students in her classroom, and one of them is just out to find her grammatical errors, and she just doesn't. He kept saying, I keep searching, but she is extremely fluent in Spanish. We'll talk about the intern program in just a minute too, but one of the benefits of this is just think about our children are getting the experiences from teachers and other adults from 10 different countries, 10 different cultures. That is absolutely amazing. I just think about when I was growing up, I had some teachers that were from Wyoming and some that were from South Dakota, but think about this, different countries. And you know how dialects are different even right here in South Dakota and in the United States. Well, so are some of theirs. And so kids are learning multiple ways to say the same word, like maroon could be black or cafe could be, brown. I'm really blowing it. Maroon, I do know these, it's brown, and cafe, but both are right. So it's kind of a fun thing there for those kids. Here's a couple of pictures of our kindergarten classrooms. One thing to know is that our kids in the Spanish Immersion program are doing the same standards. So they're doing the same standards. The curriculum is just in Spanish. Some of the benefits is that it fosters intellectual ability in children and with the benefits of higher self-esteem, enhanced creative skills, higher level of complex problem solving, and understanding and appreciation of other cultures. Here's some cute pictures of first grade. There's one of those as a surprise for a dad in the room, but you'll see that the little boy in the corner here happens to be Ben's son, so I threw that one in there to surprise him. Especially when introduced in the early elementary school years, students experience additional benefits of increased cognitive skills, higher achievement in other academic areas, and higher standardized test scores. Now, this little ditty, you can thank me for it, because Hola Amigos is going to be running through your head for the rest of the day. Or maybe even a couple of days.
No.
Well, except now the video won't work on this one. It works on the other computer, but it doesn't work on this one.
Do you have
I'm-
it connected? Can you get to it from?
It's on my desktop.
Okay.
Hey,
That
maybe
was
they
it.
can sing it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're going to be singing later. The Hola Amigos one?
Hola amigos, ¿cómo está usted? Estoy muy feliz de verle a usted. Saluda a tu vecino, y para abajo, desde un tope y desde la puerta.
It's been a long time since third grade, but nice job. So, here's one of our third grade classrooms. This was a shocking statistic that was shared with us this summer, but there's currently 23 million jobs in the United States that require dual languages. Is that amazing? 23 million. And you guys are going to be at the forefront of those. Isn't that exciting? So here's some of our fifth graders. They had a trip out to the Arboretum. I knew I was going to say that one wrong. And then also they're studying, it was for science class, they were studying some trees there. That's Mr. Montoya's wife's classroom. And then we also have a carrot lab going on for science as well. We have a very strong parents' involvement. We could not do that without the commitment, much like our ACE, you have to volunteer in the classroom. We absolutely need a commitment from parents that they're going to read to their children 20 to 30 minutes each night in English, because that's where they're in those early years. That's the English that they're going to get. And we know that by reading with our kids that they're going to gain the fluency in English, because they're going to start picking up on word recognition, and they'll be using their context clues. And that's one thing we say: if your child brings home a book in Spanish, we don't expect for you to read it in Spanish. Actually, we'd prefer you didn't if you're not fluent in Spanish. You could probably read really well, because you might be teaching them the wrong ways. However, all of those wonderful reading strategies can still be used. What do you think's happening in this story? What do you think's going to happen next? Just by looking at those pictures, and we do that all the time with our kids anyway. One thing that is important, classroom volunteers are provided some pretty significant training from some of our veteran parents, because no English can be spoken in the classroom. So you think about going into the classroom with helping kids, and we teach them some of the basics, you know. Muy bien. Right? See. We are very, very fortunate to have something called Posse, and they are the parent advocates of Spanish Immersion. And they support absolutely every aspect of our program. And I cannot imagine what would happen if we did. Because when our new teachers show up here, when they get to the United States, some of them get here. We had one that got here on Sunday night, and she began teaching at 7:30 on Monday morning. But when she arrived from her country, she had an apartment that was fully furnished. She had clean sheets and linens in the closet. She had food in the fridge, and she got off that plane, was picked up by one of our parents, taken to that apartment, and had absolutely everything that she needed to start the day.
And her classroom was ready.
And her classroom was ready for her, not to forget that. That is the beauty of having a veteran teacher as one of our leaders in our posse, because not only did she get the benefit, but my office has some great things in Spanish as well. But literally, our parents advocates, they get wall hangings, they are out looking for books, they buy books, because you know what it's like, they're coming from a different country, most of them with 2 suitcases, that's it. So they're not bringing all those wonderful teaching supplies that they've used before. Those are coming from our parent advocates, and so that has been absolutely wonderful. Obviously, the schools, we support them as well, but there's all those little things that all of you know that you bought out of your own pockets, or you created on your own over a period of time, and so we want them to hit the ground running when they get here, and literally they do. They raise funds in the community to sponsor language interns as language models for the classroom. This is something that is absolutely a phenomenal program, an integral part of our program. Here, the Spanish interns are either have graduated within the last year in their home countries, or will graduate within the next year with a degree in education. And they basically volunteer to come spend 10 months in our education system, because their goal is either to teach here or to go back to their home country and teach in an English immersion program. So their benefit is they come here, they learn the American education system, and they also improve their English. And so those are 2 things that happen. And sometimes we have the benefit of hiring them because they have a whole year in our program, and so they know kind of how that works, which is absolutely phenomenal. The language interns in kindergarten, each kindergarten classroom has one, and then each grade above that they share. However, Mr. Montoya gets one all to himself at 6th grade, because we only have one grade level there right now. So that has been just incredible. They come and they are like continual language learners. So there's a host family, usually someone in the program, that is willing to allow these folks to stay with them. We have partner families, which Ben happens to be one, that partners up with the host family, and they do things with the interns as well. So the host family doesn't have them 24/7, but they're all between the ages of 21 and 29 years old, so they are adults, and they go off and do different things too. Their goal is to see as much of the United States as they can while they're doing all the wonderful other things. So They are not a classroom EA, they are a language intern. So our goal is to make sure that they're doing as much teaching and tutoring as possible. Yeah, leveled library books, the book rooms, those of you that taught elementary know how integral those are. Our posse group has been absolutely incredible in that area as well, because they have bought literally hundreds and hundreds of titles to go in there. And we have a grandmother who has a passion not only for our program, but also for reading. And she spends probably about 20 to 30 hours a week in the 2 leveled libraries between Rosa Parks and Robert Frost, and just make sure that everything is up to date. The check-in, check-out process is going well, and we couldn't go on without her. Every year in May, the end of April or the beginning of May, we have a huge fiesta. That's our largest fundraiser, and it raises about $40,000 a year, because it will cost us about $50,000 next year to have the intern program, because we help them with visas, correct? No, Amity does that, but
Yeah, it's a national organization, so we spend $3,500 for each intern to come.
and one thing, I said they were volunteers, however, they do get a stipend of $150 a month while they're here. So basically that's volunteering, isn't it? For sure. It's very similar to student teaching, like I said, but you're far away from your family and friends, for sure. So those host families have been fantastic. So that's kind of a rundown of our program, but now we have some real stars, I think, that are going on. But do any of you have any questions of me? I know I talk fast. My Spanish-speaking teachers are always saying, muy rápido, muy.
When they do their achievement tests,
Yes.
do they do those in English or Spanish?
They do those in English. That's why it's vital for us to have, starting in 3rd grade, that they get that English language arts. Also, one more thing we push with the parents, that 20 to 30 minutes a day in English is just, reading is so important. So yes, they do those in English.
So do the parents also get some kind of curriculum so they get the vocabulary, the English vocabulary that they need for the achievement tests?
No, because they start in 3rd grade with the teachers. I mean, we have an English language arts teacher that starts in 3rd grade that works with them on that particular. But we know that just reading with your kid, reading and writing and doing all of those things are what really push that, the English at home.
But like the math vocabulary, Adams and divisors and the math teacher.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good, so I'm a parent, and so this year in 6th grade is the first year that our children have had math and English, up until, because K through 5 math was in Spanish. And so there's a few vocabulary, like sum is soma, right? Suma. So some of those must be taught by the English language arts teacher just to make that, but it's pretty quickly those children make that association because it's so close.
We can ask you too.
Is that
So,
right?
what was that like the first time taking
the test.
well, I guess you would have taken the Dakota Steps still.
Yeah, so I kind of felt like I normally, like at home, I'm always learning a bunch of English too, because the first 3 years I've been in Spanish. I've been learning just Spanish. So I was actually at home, I wanted to learn more English. So I kind of realized when the Dakota Steps were coming up, I should probably look for more English. So I kind of started trying to learn some more English and what would kind of be on the test.
So how did you go about doing that?
Pretty much just reading a lot of books kind of based on, like, long chapter books, I guess. And they had a lot of good words in there that I could kind of relate with, and then I could find out ways to associate Spanish words with English words and kind of develop a flow, I guess.
Anyone else have anything to comment on that? Oh.
Well, actually, for practicing in English, for practicing in English,
Can you talk loud?
we like to write a lot of stories, and so we practice writing for fun. Sometimes we talk and then we write stories together. So I think that's a really good practice for English because then we understand how to spell better and get a better flow about how to write and stuff.
So you write in English?
Yeah.
At home.
But
Could they use a microphone or?
It doesn't, this microphone is actually for the camera.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yep, you just have to raise your voices like you're
Like you're talking
on the
about
playground.
Yeah.
Or the lunchroom.
Sure
Sure about that?
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah.
We gotta break all the rules today. Do you want to say anything, Eddie?
Sure, yeah. Good morning, everyone. And some research has shown that the concept transfer. So once they are sitting in the classroom and seeing all the process, and they're gonna assimilate that process, or they're gonna compare that process with the process that in previous year the Spanish teacher has shown to them. So all those words just came from transfer. So it is unbelievable how they assimilate all the concepts easily, like they're being there for the whole year, or the whole life, studying math or science or social studies. So we get a lot of vocabulary from reading, like they said, for Spanish. And I know for a fact they are having an English language art also during per day. And they read in English as well as they read in Spanish. They got to hear authors. We try to bring some people who write and talk to them and let them know what's going on. So they can get all the, yeah, of course, thank you. See, my English is not that good.
Well, you know what?
It's backwards.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Why don't we go ahead and, since this is since we're gonna ask questions, let's move right into our panel, but let me have them introduce themselves first, and then we're gonna continue on with questions. How about with that? So Molly, we'll go ahead and let you start.
Oh, my name is Molly Davis, and I actually work here in our HR department, but I'm also the parent of a first grader over at Robert Frost right now.
My name is Shannon Graber, and I have a son in 6th grade and in Spanish immersion at the end, and then a daughter who's in 8th grade in traditional. She was too old to start the program. And then I was a French immersion. I didn't teach Spanish in the French. I was a French immersion.
Did I say Spanish?
That's okay.
Oh, I got excited.
See, I got French immersion, kindergarten and 1st grade in a French immersion in Edina, Minnesota. We started the program in 1991, and it's still going very, very strong. And most exciting thing, to me, was I got an email from the World Language Coordinator in Edina, and she said, "Your picture is on the kindergarten teacher's desk." Why is my picture there? Well, it was when I was her kindergarten teacher. So the teacher has her kindergarten teacher, and she's teaching in my desk in Edina 20-some years later. So maybe one of you will be a teacher here someday.
There you go.
We love the program.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Edgar Montoya.
Are you going to translate?
My name is Eddie Montoya.
Ah, sí. Soy el profesor de español, sociales y ciencias.
I'm a Spanish teacher of social studies and science.
You're louder.
Louder.
Este es mi segundo año en Sioux Falls.
This is my 2nd year in Sioux Falls.
Mi primer año enseñando en el programa Immersion.
The 1st year teaching Spanish immersion.
Me gusta mucho estar en esta comunidad, es una comunidad muy amigable.
I like this community. It's a really nice community.
También me gusta mucho trabajar con los niños.
I like working with the kids.
He tenido la oportunidad de enseñar en inglés y en español.
I had the opportunity to speak English, teach English and Spanish.
Y yo puedo puedo decir que los niños que están estudiando español
The kids who are speaking Spanish.
Pueden tener mejores resultados, tienen mejores resultados que sus compañeros en inglés o al mismo nivel.
They have better results than other kids in English or the same level.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Sí.
Soy Aiden y estoy en 6º grado en Edison.
I'm Aiden, and I'm in 6th grade in Edison.
Y en realidad me gusta como el programa de español, como da una nueva oportunidad de dejarte aprender.
And I really like that the Spanish immersion program gives you like an opportunity to learn more.
Y como ella estaba diciendo,
And like
y
she was,
como y como ella estaba diciendo, como da un
I'm Elizabeth Jerstad.
en español.
Oh, soy Elizabeth Jerstad y yo voy a Edison y estoy en sexto grado.
I'm Elizabeth Jerstad, and I go to Edison Middle School, and I'm in 6th grade.
Me gusta el programa de inmersión porque he estado con mis compañeros por casi 7 años y somos como una familia.
I like the Spanish immersion because I've been with my friends for 7 years, and they're kind of like, they're basically my favorite. Yo soy Elizabeth Dumansky y voy a Edison Middle School y estoy en 6th grade.
I'm Elizabeth Dumansky. She goes to Edison Middle School and she's in 6th grade.
Yo siento lo mismo que Elizabeth Jerstad porque las personas que están en mi clase son como mi familia.
She agrees with Elizabeth Jerstad that all of her friends in her class are like her family.
Ellos todo el tiempo están ayudándome
They're always helping her out.
y también me gusta la inmersión porque puedo cantar y bailar con ellos en la fiesta anual.
She also likes the Spanish immersion program because we always have she likes to sing, and we always have a concert at the end of the year called the Spring Fiesta. Hola, soy Jane Fettrell. Voy a Edison Middle School y estoy en 6th grade.
Hello, my name is Jane Fettrell. I'm in the 6th grade at Edison Middle School.
He estado en el programa de inmersión por 7 años.
I've been in Spanish immersion for 7 years.
Y lo que me gusta, lo mejor es que el año pasado fuimos a Bemidji, Minnesota.
What I like about Spanish immersion is that last year we went to Bemidji, Minnesota.
Para un campo de español con muchos diferentes personas.
We went for a Spanish camp with many different people that speak Spanish around the world.
Gracias.
Okay, mi nombre es Grant Graver. Estoy en el 6º grado de Edison Middle School.
He's Grant Graver. He's in 6th grade at Edison Middle School.
Lo que más me gustó de la inmersión es que puedo tener un trabajo en el futuro para hablar español.
The thing he likes the most about the immersion program is that in the future he'll have a good job when he's like translating or speaking Spanish.
And the man behind the camera.
My name is Ben Schumacher. I have a 1st grader and a 2nd grader in the Spanish immersion program.
Cute little redhead that was in the picture. Oh yeah, one other thing I want to tell you about Eddie. Eddie and his wife Eliana. Eliana teaches 5th grade for us, and so she was their 5th grade teacher last year, so he can critique her teaching by the skills of her students that she passed on. No. But they both could teach in our program, but we knew it wasn't coming to middle school until the following year. So here we were with Eddie, And we said, well, we want him at Edison, obviously. So last year, it's only logical that he would teach U.S. history, right, in 8th grade? Boy, that was a learning year. So he's learning English. But he had obviously been teaching for a while in, was it North Carolina? New Jersey.
Virginia.
Virginia.
If they're from Columbia.
But they are originally from Columbia. But so U.S. history, now he's an expert, right?
Yes.
He did a great job.
Last year I had to learn some social studies
Yes.
information the whole year.
I couldn't learn it when I was born and raised here, and here you guys, never mind. Okay. But you have a little something for us, is that correct?
Oh yeah, we have a canción, a song for you. So let's see.
Oh, stand up.
Yep. And then we can do more questions too.
See, I'm gonna try to sing. That's not my strong suit.
Do you want me to just hit play?
Yeah, just
Okay.
Tengo un corazón motivado de esperanza y de razón. Tengo un corazón que madruga donde quieras. Ay, 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 este corazón se desnuda de impaciencia ante tu voz. Pobre corazón que no atrapa su cordura. Quisiera ser un pez para tocar mi nariz en tu pecera y hacer burbujas de amor por donde quiera. Oh, pasar la noche entera mojado en ti. Pez para lograrte coral en tu cintura y hacer siluetas de amor bajo la luna. Oh, saciar esta locura mojado en ti. Canta corazón con la imprescindible de ilusión. Sueña corazón, no te nubles de amargura. Ay, 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 este corazón se desnuda en paciencia ante tu voz. Pobre corazón que no atrapa su cordura. Quisiera ser un pez para tocar mi nariz en tu pecera y hacer burbujas de amor por donde quiera. Oh, pasar la noche en vela mojado en ti. Un pez para lograrte coral en tu cintura y hacer siluetas de amor bajo la luna. Oh, saciar esta locura mojado en ti. Una noche para hundirnos hasta el fin. Cara a cara, beso a beso y vivir.
who really wanted to get married with someone and was expressing his love by him wanting to be a fish so that I don't know.
Like it's hard to jump up against the tank and be like,
hey
make,
there.
It's
kind of
it makes
weird.
sense.
It's like a metaphor.
He's describing how much his heart,
How much he's like his heart, like how much he's like his heart is with her.
He's really in
He's
love.
like, oh my gosh.
This is one of the many activities that we have done in class. So they have to follow the learner just once every day, and they have to complete the lyrics of the song. So they have to be listening and writing at the same time. So it's amazing how they do it, as I will do it.
Can we pass
Yeah.
this along so
Oh,
that
yeah.
they
I
can
have drawings on the back.
see? She's an artist too.
Okay, that's right.
So,
Now, Mr. Montoya, you have told them though that boys and girls both have cooties, right? So still in 6th grade?
yeah.
And now,
No.
that's what I told you.
Nobody does that anymore.
Oh,
People are starting to have girlfriends already.
Oh my God.
We have-
Any questions back on Spanish? Do you have some questions for the kids in particular? Ask away.
My question is for you, and you may have addressed this, and if so I missed it. Can you talk about plans for a building program involving Spanish immersion?
Yes, this is the last year for Jefferson Elementary. And then next summer, Jefferson will be taken down and they'll be putting up a brand new school right in that location. So a couple of blocks west from Sanford. And then that is where we will move. So we're going to be in these 3 locations for 1 more year. And then we'll move over to the new location and all of us will be in one building. Right now, our students are currently, they have 90% of their day is in Spanish in elementary and 10% is in English. But some really exciting things that have happened for us lately is that our new librarian that was hired for Robert Frost is fluent in Spanish, and so she moves with us. Our art teacher, who works both between, she's part-time at Robert Frost and Rosa Parks alongside another one, but she teaches our Spanish version. She is fluent in Spanish. And out of our current interns, we have 2 that have special education degrees, 2 that have reading specialist degrees, and 2 that have PE degrees, and all are vying for those positions in 2 years. So the principal really better get up to snuff because we're going to have a lot of folks that are going to be able to support those kids in Spanish, which will make it a lot of fun. So they already are getting, between the 2 buildings, some are getting even more English. So that's when we move in 2 years. The fall of 2016, we'll have a brand new building. There were thoughts of keeping Jefferson, but when that was originally built, any of you that taught in that building know that the classrooms are much smaller. Yeah, they're tiny, absolutely tiny. And so we'll have the same floor plan as the new Susan B. Anthony. And we're excited for that, very excited for that to happen. Yes?
What about the students who are maybe economically challenged? Their parents, how do they also get to be in this program?
They're in there. We're impacted by students who are homeless currently in our program. We have students for sure that are on free and reduced lunch. We have all socioeconomic levels for sure, and that is something that's really changed when we moved to Robert Frost, as well as the demographics out by Rosa Parks. By growing the program and being able to take more, when we're taking in about 125 kindergartners every year, that broadens it up much more, and so a lot more people are having opportunities. But I love walking into our classrooms because it's diverse in every way imaginable, and I love that. So there's opportunities for a lot of different kids.
Students do have the opportunity in our elementary specialized programs to ride a school bus as well. It's for a fee, but it's on a sliding scale for those free and reduced lunch folks. So that if a kid is on the complete opposite side of town, mom and dad can't get them to school, they do have that option as well.
And there's quite a few that take advantage of that.
Yes,
We do-
there is.
Our department does the registrations for that. And I guess I don't know a number, but there is quite a few kids that are coming from other areas of town that ride the buses, so.
That's wonderful. Good question. Yeah, great question.
Is there talk of starting immersion for other languages?
Well, right now, we're trying to get our arms wrapped around Spanish, and I mean, we haven't gone all the way, you know, kindergarten through 12th grade yet, so I'm gonna take a deep breath on that one.
Right.
And-
I would say from the district perspective, we are committed and all in with Spanish immersion at this time. Initially, when we looked at language immersion, there was some discussion about perhaps the Chinese language. And we do have offerings where students can learn Chinese in the middle and the high schools, and they do have an opportunity to do so. We are not embarking on another language at this time, but it certainly could happen as quickly as the Spanish immersion program did, because we do have now a great framework for moving forward with that. But right now, I would say that all of our attention is placed in the Spanish immersion program. There are lots of opportunities, again, around the world to use the Chinese language, but most prevalent in our area and most prevalent in the needs of the country are in the Spanish language. So that's where our focus is right now. Plus, it's as difficult as it is to find native Spanish speakers and people from other countries willing to come here, it's even more difficult to find native Chinese speakers who are willing to come here. And so we had to hedge that a little bit just to say, what's the possibility and what is the future of our program, and would we be able to sustain it? So back when we chose Spanish immersion and chose to go that route, it was because of many of those factors, but one of them, of course, being the ability to get Spanish instructors who can provide not the Spanish I learned as an English, but that native Spanish speaking and all of those nuances that go along with it.
I actually had two questions. Will the new school eventually house high school also then?
No, it'll just be kindergarten through 5th grade. The Edison has been named as the middle school program, so it will continue to grow there. And then I believe in December, the discussion of the high school will be named at a middle school meeting.
So that for when they get to high school, it'll be at one of the high schools. That's
Right.
Okay. And then my other question was did you students all start with kindergarten?
Yep.
You've been all the way through it, all of you.
There are 3 kids that left. One, his name is Noah. He left because I think it was a little too hard for him. And then a girl moved to California because either her dad or her mom had a job there. And then the third one, I think it was also too hard for him. He left in 5th grade. And then there was another 4th one that she moved to Yankton, so she couldn't come. And then another one moved to Arizona.
And it was really hard for us to say goodbye to all of those kids, even if we didn't know them that well, because they're all basically like saying goodbye to your family. I did start before kindergarten. I had a nanny come in when I was about 1 year old. Her name was Irma Rodriguez Leon. She's been nannying all of my siblings, and she comes and speaks Spanish to us, and so that's how I learned before kindergarten. And I have 2 5-year-old siblings, and they are in preschool, and Irma's been giving them lessons on Saturdays. And she also comes in the mornings to make them breakfast, and she tutors them with listening to songs and writing.
So you can really only start in kindergarten because you had that whole year of language,
And that's kind of the trick of the program, is that like other programs, you can add anytime, 2nd or 3rd grade, if there's a spot, somebody can filter in. but only, they call it lateral movement. That could happen if a child comes from another immersion program, like Minneapolis has several. Language immersion, there's many Spanish and French and German, they have a Chinese. So if they move from other parts of the country, but it's hard because those children have missed that whole year, that whole kindergarten year. Everyday kindergarten here, it's a lot of language. So that's why you want a nice kindergarten base.
One thing we are, because people do move, so we start out with, 25 to 27 kids in a kindergarten class. Oh. Which is a lot of good little bodies, right? But people do move or leave the program for one reason or another. And so one thing that we're establishing as a goal for us for this year is to have rubrics for the speaking and listening rubrics for the end of the school year, so that if kids do come, like we had a student who came from an immersion program in the Twin Cities and took the test, the end of the year test prior to that, and was able just to come in seamlessly. But there have been others who cannot. And so what if we had one of those, if we had those rubrics and you have a child moving from a different country, maybe you have a student who is fluent in Spanish because of their home speaks Spanish, but they don't, and then English, that they could test in it somewhere along the line, they move in. So we really want to do that because we have to, somehow, we want to support our upper level classes for when things happen like somebody moves, because that does happen. So we have larger primary grades, but hopefully we can remedy that by having our rubrics in place, which are just important to have in.
I have a question for Molly as a parent. Talk about what you do or how you work with your child at home and what the demands are on the English-speaking parent.
Well, I have a first grader, so we've just finished our first year in Spanish, so they actually don't send home a lot of homework, so I don't have to. We do have, usually it's over the weekends right now is what we'll get a few assignments, so we sit at home, and I actually have an app on my phone that translates words from Spanish to English that I use quite a bit, and she's still in the beginning stages. She can understand everything the teachers say to her. She might not, she knows what they're saying, but she's not quite at the stage where she can say every answer fully back to them, but she understands everything they're saying. And one of the things that was on the slide that made me think of with the teacher, she still doesn't know her teacher speaks English. Because I'll be like, oh, I thought her teacher actually goes to the gym with me, and so she sees us at the gym, and the teacher will start immediately speaking Spanish if she's in the locker room with me, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I saw your teacher, I told her that you were going to be picked up early tomorrow or something like that, and she'll be like, did she know what you were saying? Did she understand you? And I'm like, yeah, she understands what I'm saying. It's kind of cute. She still doesn't quite know it, but at home during the week we do read every night before bed. It's part of our routine. She brings home, every week she brings home a Spanish and an English book from the library, so she actually reads to me in English, so I don't have to read. She usually wants to read, so I don't do most of the reading. She does. And then she'll read the Spanish book too as well, so that is something we do every night. But as far as homework goes, we're not quite at the stage where every night we have homework, but.
You brought up something fascinating. Our oldest child takes after her father, and she is a graduate of Lincoln, and she was in all AP classes. And so when she graduated from Lincoln High School about 8 years ago, she took the college CLEP test for Spanish and CLEP'd out of 14 credits. A minor is 15. So she was 1 credit away from having a minor in Spanish after going through Lincoln High School. She could not hold a conversation with anyone in Spanish. She could read Spanish beautifully, she could understand everything her teachers told her, and she could write beautifully, but she could not speak in Spanish. And you're going to see here in a couple of minutes, we're going to have some of our second graders coming in here, and they're holding conversations, they're speaking fluently in Spanish. And so for me, I have always had a push for we have to give people authentic experiences. They need to hold conversations. And that's another thing that those language interns provide, is that in a classroom, they can see the teacher and the intern holding a conversation in Spanish, and they do that purposefully. even when they don't necessarily need to, but so that the kids can see what a conversation looks like and can happen. Oftentimes in a high school Spanish class, that doesn't happen as often, and there's not as many opportunities to do that. I am continually inviting all of our high school students into our classrooms. Come sit down and read with kids. Come into our classrooms and help out with a math lesson or with reading or with whatever the case may be. I had a senior following me all last week from Washington, and she has taken 3 years of Spanish, and she felt comfortable in kindergarten, and beyond that, is not. So it's just fascinating. These children here are very, very fluent just because they're getting that language piece every day, all day. I bet you wish you could have, your kids would have had a lot more opportunities, right? For sure. So anyway, that amazes me because they're brilliant. My daughter, the oldest one, she's very, very smart. And however, because of the lack of opportunities to have conversations with people, that part isn't a strength for her at all. So she needs to come hang out in 6th grade for a while, right?
I think about first semester of kindergarten, I could keep up with what she was doing. Once second semester of kindergarten hit, I was like, okay, I gotta use the computer to look things up.
I'm so thankful that you all wanted to learn about it because I think you could be wonderful advocates in our community. I think that the people that don't, well, they're just not educated about the program, so they make a judgment on it, maybe. So, now that you know so much, maybe you can share that with your neighbors, or if someone says, what are we doing? You can share that. And I see some volunteers at some of our schools. We so appreciate you giving your time to our community in whatever ways.
And go ahead.
Well, this is for Molly. How do you get this Spanish app? How do you go about getting that on your phone?
Oh,
Was it recommended? Or
No,
just something you found?
just like if you have a smartphone, like a cell phone, if you go to their app store, you can search for Spanish to English translators. They have actually any language translator. Same if you Google it on your computer.
What do you type in the Google spot?
Spanish to English translator, and it'll pull up thousands of websites, and I can type in a full sentence in English and it'll tell me exactly how to say the full sentence in Spanish.
The most accurate is Google Translate. Google Translate.
Google Translate.
So you type it there, and they're gonna translate to any language you want.
Is that free or you got to pay for it?
Mine is
No,
free.
It's free.
It's free, and it is accurate, not 100%. But most of the time, it has a.
It could jumble up, like if you're typing in a long sentence and like multiple sentences in it, it'll jumble it up.
It doesn't really have sentence forms. I mean, if a verb, if you put it in wrong, it'll do a different tense. It'll make it a little funny, and so I don't always rely on Google Translate because
Whenever I'm
You're
trying to
smarter.
Yeah.
I asked one of my teachers what something was. He told me one thing, but then I translated it on Google Translate and it told me that it meant cuddly kittens.
Yeah, it's good for just figuring out like a word here or there, and it also goes the other way around. So if I have a Spanish word on a piece of paper that I don't know what it means in English and she might not quite know, I can put that in and it does Spanish to English as well.
Would you agree with me that these 5 students are incredibly fluent in the English language?
Yes.
As well?
Yes.
Very good spokespersons for the program. They are not speaking like my 6th grader speaks, who's not in the program, but to hear about them talking about fluency and being able to make sense of things, that requires a deep understanding not only of the Spanish language, but of the English language as well. And so, equally impressed with their communication in the English language as well. And obviously that does come from the support of parents. So critically important that those parents be able to show that learning is important no matter what language you're learning it in. And if you put emphasis on that, then the student can pick up on that as well. And Shannon's been a great advocate of that as well. Shannon, any other stories of parents that you could share as a parent?
Oh, I've got so many. Well, I was thinking of something. So, you know, up in Canada, since I think 1962 or 65, you know, they had the French movement, so they have lots of French immersion programs up there, of course. And then they have been doing they do a very, very good job of research. McGill University up there has all kinds of tracking the French immersion students that are fully in French versus the kids who are, you know, taking French just sporadically. And so talking about being able to manipulate in English, so these French immersion students that are both English and French bilingual, by the time they get to university, they took some tests on writing. And so when they were writing in English and then when they were writing in French, they did a comparison. And they found out that those students, the bilingual students, scored higher in their writing in both languages than the traditional because they have a creativity. They know that language is just labeling. They call it circumlocute around something. You know, if you don't know what this is, a cup, you say, well, something that you put liquid inside, and until you get the word something, oh, that's a cup. Anyway, so that proves that those students know their own native language better than if they would have not studied an intense program. So I think that's interesting. My favorite story from being a French immersion kindergarten teacher was one of my little students went home and was talking to his parents about the experience, and his mom said, oh, how was kindergarten? Oh, it's pretty good, but my teacher, she speaks in French, but she laughs in English.
That's universal.
Yeah.
Can I ask the students?
Yes, please.
I don't want, not the adults, I want the students to respond. I'm so impressed, and I'm so pleased that you take time to come this morning and speak with us. A couple of questions. One, you talk about being a family in your classroom. I think a couple of you said that the importance of kind of being close to one another. And since you've been in it since kindergarten to 6th or 5th, you're very close to one another. Do you find that you kind of stay friends within Spanish friendship, like with the class, or are you reaching out to English kids, speaking English with friends outside the classroom?
Well, we're kind of shy about speaking with kids outside of the classroom because they normally don't really, well, our teachers tell us that they're just jealous, but like we were telling the teachers how they were being mean to us and teasing us. Yeah, but in 6th grade it's better. And last year, they were being really rude, and yeah,
But it was kind of just a generally mean couple kids, I
but
guess.
it's not because we speak Spanish. They were just a little upset. But it wasn't like it wasn't everybody. Most of them were nice to us, just a couple of kids. But this year it got a lot better, and everyone thinks that it's really awesome that we speak Spanish.
But if you're talking about this year, I mean, and actually in elementary too, we kind of we were a little bit shy about just going up to people that speak English and saying, oh, hey, what's going on? And then, starting up a conversation. But now I guess we're a lot more open, I guess. Because, all of us, I guess we have a lot of friends, I guess.
On about the 2nd week of school, I already had a bunch of kids that weren't in my class or the Spanish class that were already my friends. And yeah, I can go around school and go like, hey, and I just, we already know a lot of people.
So what is that like for the first time? Because you're only with each other for like 45% of your day now. It used to be all day, every day, and now in middle school, you have like PE and band and orchestra and chorus and home ec, all those kind of things, or facts. I mean, you have all those things with other kids, right? What's that like?
I think it's kind of like a new experience for what we're trying to do. I mean, like we're used to we're used to everybody for the entire day. But now since we're kind of like spread out over a bunch of different classes, it's different. It's kind of like just a day. It's a cooler experience. It's kind of a cooler experience than just being together all day, because then you kind of can just go. You see people every once in a while. So I mean, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's better somehow. It's just more of a varied thing.
You get a better taste since though we also do speak English very fluently. So now that we get to have more classes in English, I think it'll help us a lot better, and we'll see a very big boost this year.
Jane, you wanted to share something?
Oh yeah, but I really, back when those people were being mean to us, they never really were mean to Grant and I, because we both always knew him from baseball. Basketball and baseball. And so they knew us, and they always were like buddy with us. But then we sort of got like mad at him, because if you're going to be friends with us, you gotta be nice to our friends too.
Yeah.
And so, but that was really cool, because when I got to 6th grade, I was kind of nervous about meeting new people, and everyone was just so like open with us, because in my directed studies the next day, and I came in and there were these two guys that I had no idea who were, and they just automatically just started talking to us and to me, and it was just so welcoming, and it was just like, wow, that feels so good, and you're just like, wow, you're gonna be my friend.
And they really thought it was interesting how we could speak Spanish, and they always told us, "Oh, I'm so jealous. Where do you guys learn Spanish? I want to learn." And they would always say that to us.
In chorus, on about like the third day of school, I was with one of my friends who speaks Spanish also. So I was speaking with her, and then there's kids in the back who were just like, "Oh, those guys speak Spanish." And then, so I felt really proud, and then later on, a lot of people started noticing that we speak Spanish, and they were telling their friends, and they were telling other friends. So,
and then we were talking about earlier, we have kind of one big family. So it kind of is we kind of have a weird system of how friendship works, because like, let's say Elizabeth makes someone as a friend, and then when someone else makes a friend in our class, that friend kind of slowly becomes friends with like everyone else in the class. So it's kind of one big group of. So when someone makes a friend, like let's say I make a friend, that will eventually probably become someone like maybe Jaden's friend.
Thank you. I
The
have a
family is
question
expanding.
reference to home, not just classroom and school, but at home. In a sense, you become teachers to your parents. What's that like?
well, my dad asks me all the time, "What is this in Spanish?" And I'm telling him what it means and what it is, and then he tells me a word in Russian, since he knows Russian. And so it's basically like I give him a word in Spanish, he gives me a word in Russian. So I got to choose between Spanish and Russian. So I chose Spanish. So now I probably have a lot of opportunities.
One time I woke up and my dad was, and I was telling my dad about this dream I had just had, and he was like, "Do you ever dream in Spanish?" and I'm like, "Sometimes, but that's only during school."
My family grew up your mom, as I said earlier, she cooks like meals. She cooks lots of meals that I so we cooked ourselves for that, and so we went to this Mexican restaurant the other day called
Shirley brought it just in case we need.
and my mom told me to order, and so I ordered in Spanish, and they were pretty amazed. They speak Spanish, and they responded in English. And one time, in my sister's kindergarten classroom, she wanted to know where the scissor box was, and then she asked the teacher in English, "So where's the scissor box?" She said in the green
box in Spanish. And then my sister said, what green box in English? And then she said over there, then she went over there and got her scissors. So they understand it, but they can't exactly speak it yet.
Thank you.
What is very interesting is about Jaden. I want to piggyback on Jaden. Jaden was saying that he has some only English speakers in his direct studies class. Now those kids start speaking Spanish. They asked them how to say, can I go to the restroom, Mr. Montoya? So they came to me and they asked me Spanish. And they have been learning with them during those classes. And also, I have a lot of customers knocking my door saying, how can I come in this class? How can I start studying Spanish?
And that same kid was asking him a lot of words in Spanish, and then one time he asked him, can I have a candy, since he has a big stash of candy. And then he said, I don't know, you have to do something that impresses me. So he asked me, how do you say, can I have a candy in Spanish? So I told him, and then he got a candy since he said
Nice. Even my mom wants to learn Spanish, and a long time ago, they were giving Irma like a tour of our house, and she wanted to sound like she was speaking Spanish, and she said, over here in the caverns, trying to like roll her R's. It was very embarrassing.
This is true stories here.
And, sorry, do you want to say something?
Go ahead.
Well, my grandma, she wanted to roll her R's well, so we were in the kitchen, and then she's like, so Elizabeth, say something in Spanish. So I said something in Spanish. She said, how would I try rolling the R's? So she went, she couldn't do it, so then I told her, no, you do it like this. And I was in kindergarten, so she kept doing it. And she never got it.
Thank you.
Well, we are very excited. We have one of our classrooms of second graders. They have a little performance for us. And they came over here to perform, and then we're going to go and tour the other second grade classroom. We'll get to see both of them. But this is Senorita Bobby Greenfield. She's originally from Vermillion, South Dakota. This is her second year in the program, but she doesn't speak any English, folks, so you'll just have to trust me on that. And Angela is our our intern that is in the classroom as well. And I will let you take over.
Vale, perfecto. Pues tenemos dos obras para vosotros. La primera que vamos a hacer es la escuela de pececitos.
Sí.
Así que mis peces, por favor, de pie. ¿Listo? Así que, pues puedes poner cosas aquí para que
And second graders will need to speak really loudly because it's hard to hear, okay? So use your playground voices when you talk.
Hacemos una cosa cuando Charlotte estaba en tarde.
Pero empieza como casa, esperando.
Oh, my teacher started and having
The teachers and la maestra está aquí otra vez. Vamos.
¿Quién puede decir que es
10 más 10.
Natalie? 20.
Bien.
Hola, maestra.
Okay.
Buenos días, señorita Pez.
Hoy estudiaremos las reglas de nuestra escuelita de peces. ¿Qué deben hacer si quieren ser algo? Levantar nuestras aletas. Aletas. Muy bien. ¿Qué hay que sentarse en los asientos? otras. Si alguien te hace enojar.
Necesito que hablamos antes que enojarnos y no soplar burbujas en la cara de los otros.
Excelente trabajo. Ahora, ¿qué quieren aprender?
¡Sobre la gente!
Aiden, can you tell us what that was about?
Okay, so,
He's going to tell us what all happened there.
okay, so from what I got, more or less, it was a story about these 4 fish who were going to school, and they were learning about like what not to do, like what to do during school, like if you bring food, what was it?
Yeah,
No,
food
Christmas
to
applesauce.
Like you have to say Christmas applesauce.
You have to say Christmas applesauce, and if you bring the food, you have to bring it for everyone, stuff like that. So it's just basically just kind of representing what a school day would be like if it was with fish.
Había una vez una gallinita roja, un gato y un perro. La gallinita roja trabaja muy duramente. Ella cocinaba, ella lavaba. Un día ella le preguntó a sus amigos:
¿Quién me va a ayudar a plantar las semillas?
yo no.
Entonces me plantaré yo misma.
Y lo hizo cuando quisieron de trigo. Un día, la gallinita roja le preguntó a sus amigos:
¿Quién me va a ayudar a cortar el trigo?
yo no.
Entonces me cortaré yo misma.
Y lo hizo. Entonces la gallinita roja estaba lista para comer el pan. Y le preguntó a sus amigos: Y lo hizo. Entonces la gallinita roja necesitó moler el trigo. Ella le preguntó a sus amigos:
¿Quién me va a ayudar a moler el trigo?
yo no.
Entonces me moleré yo misma.
Y lo hizo. Entonces la gallinita roja necesitaba cortar pan con los manos. Le preguntó a sus amigos:
¿Quién me va a ayudar a hornear el pan?
yo no.
Entonces me hornearé yo misma.
Y lo hizo. Entonces la gallinita roja estaba lista para comer el pan. Y ella le preguntó a sus amigos:
¿Quién me va a ayudar a comer el pan?
yo sí.
Yo sí.
Pero la gallinita roja dijo:
No. ¿Quién me ayudó a plantar las semillas? ¿Quién me ayudó a cortar el trigo? ¿Quién me ayudó? ¿Y quién was asking who wants to help me cut down the weed, and they all said, no, I don't want to, I don't want to, and I don't want to. So then she asked who wants to help me, and 3 more things. And they all said, not me. And then when she said, who wants to help me eat the bread, they all said, me. But she said, since none of you helped me with getting it ready, I'm going to eat it all by myself.
Wow. And second graders, would you like to stand up and take a bow?
Oh, but I didn't
Do any of you have a question for this particular group of second graders? Oh, look at it. Did you hear that? The panics back there? No?
My next door neighbor Simone says hi. I got a letter from her.
Oh,
Simone!
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. Gracias, gracias. Muy bien. Let's do that.
We are going to have Melody do some drawings right now until these students get back in their classroom. And then we're going to invite you to go over and listen in on their classroom if you have time. We know we're coming to our end of our time here today, but you are welcome to come over with us and walk into one of the classrooms and hear the conversations that are going on, okay? So we're going to do a couple drawings, just allowing these students to get back to their classroom, and then we'll continue on. So I'll turn it over to Melody.
And we do want, at this time, the sixth graders get the opportunity to go back to Edison. We don't want to miss all day, but want to thank them very much. No, we want to thank you all very much for coming. What an amazing group of kids.
Gracias, adiós. Recoge tu basura, por favor.
Tenemos que recoger nuestra Ya tengo tus frases. Más bien.
Okay, I'm Melody with Community Education. You've probably seen my name around. And I just wanted to introduce, I think we've got 2 new staff people since the last Gold Card event that we had. I wanted to introduce Becca Paul, right here. She does the youth programming. I do the adult programming with Community Education, and she is now in the youth programming, and she also does driver's ed for thousands of students every school year. And lots of other programs too. We do the, like I said, we do the busing for the specialized schools, and we take registrations for the high school, summer school classes, in addition to the catalog that you see on your tables there. So, and then the other person I wanted to introduce is Laura Fisher. She's been with us about 3 months.
Since August.
Since August. Okay, seems like forever. We've got no, I mean it's good in a good way. We've got a really good team right now, and of course, Deanne is our fearsome leader, and Ben is in our department too. So I think we're all here right now, except for Jeff Little, who does a lot of the television type stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to draw attention to a couple things that were on your tables. You should have all received a book in the mail, a catalog, and if you didn't, we apologize. There is 2 catalogs that come out every year. This one came out in early August. And so these classes that are in these blue catalogs with the divers on the front, those classes are going on right now. Some of them are done, but they will run through the middle of December. And then right now, actually, as soon as this is over today, we need to delve in, or I do anyway, looking at classes for next spring. So the next catalog will come out the first week in January. And that's one of the things, like Deanne mentioned, is we would like some input from you guys of what types of classes you'd like to do, what would attract you to come, either down here to IPC in one of the buildings or one of the classrooms to learn something new, or we have classrooms all over the community, and that's in the back, way in the back, there's addresses. I think there's probably 30 to 35 different locations that we hold classes, and we do a little bit of everything. We do cooking classes and knitting classes and
Spanish classes.
Yep, which are really popular. We've been having those for several years. So, but yeah, take some time to look through that. And then I did make a little flyer, and it's nothing special, but I just picked out a couple of the classes that are still coming up yet this fall. Like I said, some of these started in September, so they're over already, but that's that little flyer that's on your desk there too, or on your table. And then the other piece of paper that Dan mentioned earlier is a survey that Laura whipped together for us quick. At the top, if you can take just a couple minutes and fill that out with other topics that you'd like to do as a group here. Of course, our next one coming up will be the holiday meal, and I'm working on that on a location, and we usually do the turkey dinner. If you've got other suggestions besides the turkey dinner, please let me know. It's usually very, very good.
Yes.
Very good mashed potatoes and corn and the roll and butter and dessert and everything else in the turkey. So that will be the next one that comes up, because that's kind of a standard one that we do in early December. So watch your mail for that invitation. But we will plan another one yet in the spring. So I need some ideas for that, if anybody has some ideas. And there's a couple other questions on there too. And then the bottom, if you leave the top, but if you go ahead and pull off the bottom or rip off the bottom, fold it. And, if you know anybody else, friends, relatives, that you think would enjoy being a Gold Card member, please just hand that to them. And of course, it's a very easy process. They can either just call and we can mail out their card, or they can stop in here at IPC. So, and then just one other thing, these happened to come in the mail last week, so we decided to grace you with them also. We are in the next catalog, which will come out in early January. One of the classes that will be in there is this America's Music City Tour. It's through Colette Vacation, and I always laugh because I love watching Wheel of Fortune, and all of their trips are through Colette. So very good company that's been around forever. But we are going to partner with them on a trip. And it's Nashville, Memphis, New Orleans. It's going to look through that. The trip is not until fall of 2015. But they give us a lot of time to have a meeting here. You might get an invitation to come and attend a meeting here about the trip. They'll come and talk to us and kind of introduce to you what the trip will be about and what all it will include. So that's all I have. So I think we're going to go.
Are you going to draw?
Oh, yeah, the girls are going to draw. Yes, go ahead.
If you got a ticket,
Yes, if you got a
get a ticket upon entry.
So if you want to get those out, yep, we'll just call the numbers, probably the last 4 maybe, or 3 numbers.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we've got some, Ben from our department designed the t-shirts for this year. You know, we always get new t-shirts every year with Arc Ink. They're our partner with that, and all the staff in the district get a new t-shirt, and they're awesome. In fact, we had people wanting 2 because they're so cool.
Yes. We had to place a reorder, so you're getting a well requested t-shirts. Highly requested.
They're the blue ones, and we do have a couple. I think I have a couple of black ones from the year before and a brown one from the year before that too. So we've got a couple of the new ones, and then we have the water bottles. So. Go ahead, draw
away.
one.
I will have you draw one. Thank you. Okay, the lucky number is 701441. 441. All right. Very good.
I believe you.
Yeah.
You want to draw one for me? You want to draw one for me?
Thank you. Okay, 701431. 431. Okay.
All right. There you go.
All right. Want to draw for me? $439 are the last numbers. 439.
Somebody has
701-439. No. Okay.
You know what? I think it's fine. It looked like a 0 first. But I think
Oh, okay. We'll call that good. Yeah. Okay, do you want to draw one for me? Okay, the last numbers are 436. Lucky spot back there. All right, do you want to draw one for me? Yeah. Thank you. 422. All right, let's see, who's next? You want to draw one for me? Thank you. 434. All right, here you go.
You're welcome. We need water bottles too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I will go ahead and draw one. 427. Okay, right over here. Wow, you guys are outfitted totally now.
You're welcome.
I think it's 432. All right. Gonna work our way this way.
There you go. You're welcome.
437. Okay.
There you go. You guys did well too.
442. 442. You got that one?
Yep, that's right.
Right here.
I know, that last number is difficult to see.
It is. I can't read this one at all, I don't think. Maybe 428? Okay.
That's exactly what it said.
Okay.
True, the 8 was hard to see.
It is. Okay, and one more. Okay, here we go. 440.
Nice. Sisters have matching.
I was sending you some positive vibes.
So now, if you'd like to leave your items here, you're welcome to do so. If you'd like to take them with you, you're welcome to do that as well. But we're going to walk about 20 steps over to the Spanish Immersion classroom. And if you need to get going, if you have other appointments or things, you're welcome to take off from here as well. But we do invite you to come along and just listen in that classroom. And remember, no English.
Yeah. And you notice I like to talk a lot, so it's a challenge. But we're going into, we can peek into both of the classrooms. One of the things, we walk over to Robert Frost for a lot of, it's just right here in the other side, at the north end of our building. We walk back and forth Robert Frost for lunch and for recess. But once you walk into these classrooms, you'll understand that they don't feel bad at all. Because they kind of, for 2 years, have Cadillac classrooms. And one of the classrooms, the other classroom that wasn't in here, has put together a little poem for you, apparently. So I just heard from it.
Well, and there was a nice clip on one of the TV stations a while ago from that classroom. I don't remember which one it was.
Some of them don't even use English.
Yeah, they don't use.
Good morning.
Good morning. Just I retired last spring. So.
I knew I'd seen you someplace too, but I couldn't. I didn't remember where.
That's so bright. And I have been bright. Yeah.
But it's really a commitment for their parents too.
Well, every time it's been 30 minutes every day. So think what
Muchas gracias por venir a vernos, por favor. Qué orgullo tenerlos aquí.
Chicos, decirles gracias por venir.
Gracias por venir.
Estamos trabajando con las simetrías. Hoy estamos trabajando con las simetrías cuando ponemos dos cosas juntas, iguales. ¿Cuántas veces habréis trabajado con eso? Me emociono, de verdad. Es que es una edad maravillosa, ¿no? El poder llegar a donde habéis llegado vosotros, ¿no? Chicos, vamos a darles un aplauso por haber trabajado tanto. No, gracias a vosotros, porque habéis sido un ejemplo para las generaciones que seguimos detrás de vosotros. Gracias. Os hemos preparado una poesía. No sé si me entendéis.
¿Cómo eso? Bueno.
¡Qué maravilla! No tengo para todos, creía que ibais a ser menos, pero os hemos preparado una poesía, compartirla y luego os haré fotocopias. Es una poesía en español, pero por la vuelta está en inglés. Podéis leerla en español o en inglés, ¿vale? Y ellos la van a decir, la poesía. Reconocimiento a toda vuestra labor, porque habéis trabajado muchísimo toda vuestra vida. Ay, sí que hay bastantes, creo, sí, mira. Chicos, sacamos, si queréis venir allí, como queráis, si queréis venir más cerca, está fenomenal, como queráis. Si queréis pasar, estáis en vuestra casa. Es vuestra casa. Ha sido vuestra casa durante muchos años. ¿Sacamos la poesía, chicos? ¿Sacamos la poesía? ¿Recitamos la poesía? Bien, ¿estamos todos preparados con la poesía?
Sí.
¿Sí? ¿Nos acordamos cómo tenemos que hacerlo?
Sí.
¿Sí? ¿Tengo que dar la palmada o no hace falta dar la palmada? No hace falta. Fenomenal. Pues, Joseph, no te veo con la hoja preparada. Venga. Muy bien. James, siéntate, cariño. Muy bien. ¿Preparados? Ya.
Educar es lo mismo que poner un motor a una barca. Hay que medir, pesar, equilibrar y poner todo en marcha. Pero para eso uno tiene que llevar en la alma un poco de marino, un poco de pirata, un poco de paleta y un poco de genio de casillas donde está. Pero eso mientras uno trabaja, que es aparcar ese niño y ir muy lejos por el agua. Señor, que señor, que va nuestra carta, que palabras hacia pueblos distantes, hacia islas delante, más que cuando un día estén durmiendo nuestra propia barca. En barcos nuevos seguirá nuestra bandera de Canadá.
Y ahora les vamos a dar un aplauso súper fuerte a ellos, porque lo han hecho súper bien, toda su vida lo han dedicado a esto. Damos un súper aplauso, chicos, vosotros, damos un aplauso a ellos. Ustedes decimos, gracias Gracias, gracias, miles de gracias. Estoy súper orgullosa de que hayáis podido llegar a donde habéis llegado y de hacer todo lo que habéis hecho. Muchas gracias por venir a visitarnos.
Hola, papá de
Sí, ¿queréis escucharnos una canción?
Sí.
La de la banda y la rima. Vamos a cantaros una canción. Que nos está recordado que nos sabemos una canción. Una canción. ¿Podemos cantaros una canción? ¿Tenéis tiempo?
Sí.
¿Podemos cantar una canción? ¿Ahora? ¿Tenéis tiempo?
Uno pequeño,
Cortita.
cortita.
Somos la banda, 1, 2, 3. Somos la banda de la rima, la más divertida que podrás encontrar. Somos la banda de la rima, ven con nosotros, vamos a rimar. Vamos a sacudir una parte del cuerpo que rima con cereza, que rima con destreza, que rima con princesa. Vamos todos a sacudir la cabeza. No, ahora no tocaba. Vamos a peinar una parte del cuerpo que rima con caramelo, que rima con abuelo, que rima con anhelo. Vamos todos a peinarnos el pelo. Somos la banda de la rima, la más divertida que puedas encontrar.